While we waiting next patch to see what GGG will do to melee, I went to try spells and ended up with this build. Later I found that it already exists. See pinned comment. Build will be nerfed for sure. Archmage is way too strong. Some stuff work the way it shouldn't. But anyway, here's the build cold cast on critical strike Archmage Chronomancer. Let's start with skills. First about this exact setup, then about different options. Skill you use manually is Frostbolt. It fires 3, sometimes more, projectiles. Does good damage, but not that fast. Since it's cast on critical strike build, we scaling critical chance and critical damage. Most important thing is to reach at least 50% critical chance on Frostbolt. So then with ambush support, it basically doubles to 100% against mobs with full life. For cast on critical, we use Comet. This is main single target damage source, plus helps for clearing. Secondary skill to use manually is Frostwall. Frostwall counts as enemy, so you can hit it with Frostbolt or any other spells, which builds up energy for cast on critical to trigger Comet. So those are core skills of this build. Next is Frostbomb, that is mostly debuff skill that applies cold exposure by itself, plus lightning exposure from support. Exposure's lower enemy resists and stack with curses, but also it can be used on bosses with ambush support to trigger comets. Here's how it looks like.
I need more time.
Build use Archmage, Blasphemy, and Grim Feast. Archmage grant more lightning damage the more mana you have. Currently is way too strong and will be nerfed. Even on my build with 4k mana, it give almost 300% more damage to Comet. Next is Blasphemy. This is basically the way to make curse work as aura around you. So Temporal Chains Curse is used to slow everything around you and extend duration of all effects on enemies. Even duration of time freeze, and Grim Feast, that spawns small crystals when you kill enemies. Picking them up will give you energy shield, up to double the amount of your energy shield. Lastly, Conductivity, that simply reduce enemy lightning resistance, since with Archmage, majority of damage is lightning. And Soul Offering, which is temporary buff that grant more spell damage. The way Soul Offering works, first you need to have Scepter with summoned skeletons on swap. So when you swap to second set, skeletons are spawned, then you can use Offering to get buff. And then you start doing damage. Now for options for clearing, first way is using Snakepit Ring and why it's good. Frostbolt does damage in 2 different ways, just passing through enemy or exploding after collision with terrain. That explosion does bigger damage, but normally happens when Frostbolt hit the wall. So what Snakepit does is first, it prevents Frostbolt from piercing, so it will trigger explosion on collision with enemies, and second is Fork. Fork makes projectiles split into 2 after first hit. So with that ring Frostbolt hit enemy, it split into 2 Frostbolts, and then those 2 projectiles will explode when hitting enemy. And second way is having second Frostwall and swapping it with Comet for clearing, but without Snakepit Ring. Reason it's good is because Frostbolt does explode when it destroys segments of Frostwall, so those are 2 ways for clearing. Now single target rotation. Single target rotation starts with swapping to second weapon set with skeletons and time freeze. Second weapon set use most of skill duration available on tree, so you use skeletons, conductivity curse, and time freeze with it. Unfortunately, we cannot set what weapon set to use for time freeze, so have to swap manually. So we got buff from Soul Offering, dropped curse, and used time freeze. Now all you do is 3-step rotation, Frostwall, Frostbomb, and Temporal Rift. Use Temporal Rift after Comet's dropped and mana was consumed, so you will get back to full mana to cast again. Repeat until target is gone, so that's single target rotation, now to gear. Starting with weapons, main hand is wand, most important stats are skill levels, critical strike chance, and mana. Next is mana regen, spell damage, and any extra damage. In offhand, Scepter is use because build need a lot of spirit. Most important thing is have Scepter with Malice skill on implicit. Malice is aura that applies debuff on enemies that grant flat added critical strike chance per stack. Most important mods are increased spirit, mana, and mana regen, and presence area of effect, which increase radius of malice and radius of slow aura from ascendancy. All armor with energy, shield, and resists as base. As much mana as possible on helmet, gloves, and boots. Movement speed on boots, of course. What is important on gloves is having corrupted enchant that grant massive magnitude to slow effects, which will make enemies even more slower. Rings with mana, mana regen, some resists if needed, and attributes. Build needs some extra int or strength on gear. Belt with mana and resists. And now to interesting part, amulet. This build use Eldritch Battery that convert all energy shield to mana. So normally you would have no energy shield, but this amulet still grant huge amount of energy shield. I'm not sure if it's supposed to work like that, but here it is. And lastly, second weapon set, Scepter on swap with summon skeletons, mana, mana regen, and some spirit. For shield you use either Aval's Wheel for skill duration to extend duration of offering, time freeze, and curse. Or Crest of Ardura for cooldown recovery rate if you don't have enough damage to kill bosses within one use of time freeze, so you would have lower cooldown for time freeze to use it again. Lastly, jewels. Build has decent amount of jewel sockets, and jewels can provide a lot. Key mods on jewels are effective auras that affect temporal chains curse, effective curses, critical damage with spells, any other damage mods like spell or cold damage. Also important to have couple jewels with mana gain on kill, which helps with mana sustain during clearing. That's all for gear, now to tree. Starting with Ascendancy, first 4 points you spend to reach Time Freeze, then Apex of the Moment. Last 2 points you can spend to get Quicksand Hourglass, which improve clearing or now and again, which improves single target DPS. And now to tree, this is not leveling tree, it will be included in guide page. Here I just point out where to spend weapon set points. Weapon set 1 is for DPS, you take Deadly Force with other 2 notables and small passives, Invocated Efficiency and Energize, Controlling Magic, only Inescapable Cold without passives leading to it, and Desensitization. For Weapon Set 2, we take all duration passives for Time Freeze, such as Lingering Horror, Harsh Winter with small passive before it, Preservation all the way from Ether Flow, Chronomancer, and lastly, Small Offering Duration passive. Once again, this is not tree for leveling, it will be included on guide page. Now to showcase, max difficulty Xesht, clearing, and both trials.
A rare treasure.
我很喜欢冰淇淋电视，所以现在电视。冰淇淋，冰淇淋。我爱懂得笑容，多美丽的天，它也懂得阳光，多美丽的热爱一百零五度的你，滴滴青春的蒸馏水。我爱懂得笑容，多美丽的天，它也懂得阳光，多美丽的热爱一百零五度的你，滴滴青春蒸馏水。
Didn't break a sweat.
Rejected her destiny.
现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋电视，所以现在电视。一二三，冰淇淋。一二三，一二三，冰淇淋。我爱懂得笑容，多美丽的天，它也懂得阳光，多美丽的热爱一百零五度的你，滴滴青春的蒸馏水。
Darukan favors me.
Well done, challenger. But there is one more trial you must complete. Defeat me and prove your worth to chaos.
A disciple of chaos. Not yet.
My service is finally over. And my service continues.
Rare treasure. of its own. This battle is our sacred duty.
Come, Chronomancer. Behold, true mastery of time.
This being courses with power. I can't do that yet.
This is not the future I had foreseen!